to talk about blogging for design professionals. I'm Eric Liebersfeld with Capital Lighting, and we're thrilled to be joined by Georgie Brown, who's going to be talking to us today on the CE course about blogging, and specifically blogging and how it can help our design professionals. Just a bit of background. I know blogging is new to many of us. The word blog originally came from a web, meaning the internet web, log. People used to jot down or keep an online journal about what they thought about, what they were passionate about, and what they knew a little bit more than everybody else about. And then it was web, log, and then it just got truncated to blog. And here to tell us even more information about blogging than what I just shared with you is Georgie Brown. A little bit of introduction for Georgie. She is co-founder and managing partner for Big Couch Media Group, a South Florida-based strategic consulting and full-service agency. Georgie has over 20 years of experience in digital strategy and marketing. She was an early adopter and evangelist in social media. She's been a great help to us at Capital Lighting, and I'm sure she's going to be a great help to you to help you build your business. So, Georgie, take it away.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome everyone who's attending this CEU course on blogging. And for those of you who are newbies, really my goal today is to provide you with some just great tips and how-tos on blogging, and most important, how you could start blogging to build your credibility, expand your digital footprint, and most important, grow your business. So today, we're going to help answer the following questions on blogging. We'll first answer the question, why this is important to you. Then we'll show you how to get started. We'll then provide some simple ways to promote your blog. We'll share some best practices and mistakes to avoid. I've got a few great blogs to just share with you, both in interior design and outside, and then, of course, last but not least, measuring our success. I know many of you are already blogging, and if you are not blogging, you probably have been thinking about it or somebody suggested it to you. Blogging originated in the late 1990s with the advent of easy-to-use web publishing tools, which then allowed non-techies, people like me and probably you, the ability to easily publish content on the web. So fast forward to today, there are now millions and millions of blogs. So first, let's start with the subject of content. Having a robust content strategy has fast become a key element in a successful inbound marketing strategy. Now, I'm not just talking about words on a page. Content comes in many different forms, from blogging, like our subject today, to social media and emails and various other digital communications. Relevant and actionable content is one of the best ways you can potentially boost your business. So I'm sure many of you have asked yourself the question, why should I care about this? First, through blogging, you can help position and establish your brand. What I mean is you can gain more exposure for your brand on a level of marketing, especially search and social. Blogging is a great and cost-effective way to establish yourself as an authority or expert in your field or niche, whether that's a particular design style or a particular vertical market like commercial design. Next, blogging will drive traffic. More importantly, drive. According to a recent HubSpot survey, 57% of companies who published a blog acquired a customer for a blog-generated lead. That's pretty compelling. Lastly, blogging is important for your search engine optimization because it is new content and it will help you be found. Just a little more specifics on this subject. Creating new content and adding pages is one of the factors Google recognizes your blog as being popular. I always call it the popularity contest. Second, are searching for business specifics online. And last on the subject, people are searching differently today. They are searching for information using a long string of words rather than simple searches. And this is even going to be more important as voice search expands. So for those of you who have iPhones and you use Siri, having good content that's written well is going to help be found through all devices. So now let's look at the landscape by the numbers. There are over 31 bloggers. This is evenly distributed among men or women, and this is a stat that has changed. In the early years, it was very male-dominated because it was more technical, but now that has really shifted significantly. So we're seeing about an evenly there. The vast majority of companies now have a blog. However, only a third of the companies are really taking any attention to it, which is a big no-no. And really, we look at the numbers, there's a lot of companies who haven't even updated their blog in a year. And that's a no-no. One of my favorite statistics is, according to a study by Blogger, 61% of U.S. online consumers have made a purchase based on a recommendation from a blog. So blogging can absolutely help you generate leads and acquire new customers.
That's a huge statistic.
It's pretty compelling. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I always like to, I read blogs, I in the business. I'm sure a lot of folks taking this blog, they are influenced, and kind of, whether it's retail, have a lot of influence. So what should you be considering to be successful with your high level on content? So now let's discuss quality. Creating compelling content is critical to your success. Really think about your target audience's pain points and their interests, and write with empathy. When thinking about your content, think in terms of you wanting someone to share your blog with a friend. Oh, I saw this great blog on coastal design elements. And they'll even share it on their social media. We've probably all seen that. Next, be consistent and update frequently. There is nothing worse than reading a blog that hasn't been updated for months. And we'll talk a bit later about what the optimum frequency should be for your efforts. Incorporate target keywords in your content so you'll be found in search engines. Here's an example of a Google search that I did this week, actually, and the result for kitchen design ideas. Now, this guy had a lot going for him. Not only was his URL, when I typed in kitchen design ideas, was very relevant, but he also had a lot of keywords in his content. You also want to be promoting your blog content through your other marketing channels as a way to really, what the term I use, cast a wider net. And we'll talk specifics on this in a few minutes. Last, be patient. Nothing great happens overnight. You just have to you have to stick with it. And remember, these blog posts are not just about the day that you post them, but they're going to be everlasting resources for people who are looking for content related to your blog post. So now we're going to get started. So you first need to develop your strategy. The first question is, what's my niche, tone, or focus? What makes me unique or different? Simply put, the topic or topics that you're going to write about. In the blogging world, there are two camps. Those who believe you must have a niche to be successful, and of course those who think you can be successful without it. Having a niche may make it more manageable because you'll be digging into a specific topic or subject, and it'll be much easier for you to establish yourself as an expert or a thought leader on a subject. The next thing is, what are the long-term goals of your blog? For example, do I want to establish myself as the authority in contemporary design in Boca Raton? You want to analyze what's worked, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you measure or how you can measure success. So you want to review those metrics to see what blog posts are getting, the most traffic or the time on the site and that sort of thing. And when establishing goals for anything, I always like to revert back to establishing SMART goals. And we've all heard that term. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Next is, okay, who's going to be the one to author my blog? Maybe a lot of you aren't great writers. Maybe you have a partner in your business and they have to, they may be more skilled to write it, but is it going to be you? So determining, or maybe you're going to take turns, right? Or you have different staff members. But really establishing who's going to write the blog is important. Next, you'll want to create a schedule and calendar, and you publish it to yourself. I mean, hold yourself accountable. One of the things, I talk to a lot of small business owners and that may have started blogs, and it's not scheduled. They just, it's kind of one of those things when I get to it. So creating a schedule, maybe putting it in your calendar, for every Monday morning or Tuesdays or Fridays. So this is going to be important for the future followers of your blog, as well as what we discussed earlier, the relevance to the search engine. So, if you're looking to gain followers and you're not at least consistently publishing, you're probably going to lose those followers. And then relative to keywords, it's really understanding what keywords that you're going to focus on so you can be found in search engines.
Do you want to just say a couple of words about keywords? I mean, it sounds obvious. Why are they called keywords? Those are things people search for, right? Those are words or terms, kitchen design ideas. So keywords are either singular words or they're terms, and really in this day and time with all of the changes to what the Google algorithm, and their algorithm is how they decide what's the most relevant search result. So it's just think in terms of, what do you want to be, what part of the market are you trying to target, and the words surrounding that. Now, some of you, there are tools that can help you identify the keywords and the volume of those keywords or terms.
And so those actually, if you go, you have your Google account set up, your Google Analytics and your Google Webmaster Tools, you can actually use those tools, and Google will tell you the search volume on certain terms, so that you're not targeting terms that don't get a lot of search volume. And that developing that keyword strategy, you can't. So for instance, let's say in lighting, I'll just talk specifically to capital lighting. Obviously, chandelier is a highly searched term, but that's also highly competitive. So what you have to do is find kind of the happy medium of volume and competitiveness. So maybe it's not chandeliers, it might be transitional 40-inch chandeliers or something like that. I'm sort of pulling that off the top of my head, but
right. So
but there's an art and a science to deciding the terms.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what you're trying to do is use those when you say keywords. They're just words that happen to be words that people type into search engines more frequently than others. And the combination of all those words and what you're writing will give you a better chance to show up when somebody's searching. If you're an expert on kitchen design and you use the word kitchen design several times in what you're writing, that will help. You can't overuse it, but that's where you say it's a science and an art. It has to read well no matter what. You can't just fill it up with keywords and then have the blog. And I've seen lots of those blogs where it's just obviously done to get somebody to come to the page because it's just full of keywords, but it doesn't necessarily say much of substance.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of it, certainly this CEU is not just about search engine ranking. It's really about building your business through creating compelling content.
Right.
And if you create compelling content, you will generate qualified traffic.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Thanks, Georgie.
And certainly last, but certainly not least in getting started, is choosing the right platform, especially if you're just getting started. Some of the most common platforms used for blogs are things like WordPress and TypePad and Drupal and Tumblr, and Gawker is a new one. But there's probably 100 various platforms. But as you can see, WordPress really leads the pack and is the most popular in use today. So, when I'm talking to folks and they ask us, what do we recommend? And it's always, what am I going to do with it? And we're going to talk a little bit about, how to choose. But WordPress is, because of its ease of use, has become very popular.
Now WordPress, and I don't want to digress too much, but I'm just thinking of questions that people would have. I know WordPress makes both websites and blogs, and sometimes, I don't know if you're going to get into that, but do you get into the differences between what makes a website versus a blog?
I mean, the lines are blurred.
Yeah.
A website is a general term for presence on the internet, right? So, for instance, 1-800-Lighting is a website. Now, within 1-800-Lighting, we have a blog. But a blog is, in theory, a website. So,
okay. So all blogs are websites. But not
in
all
theory.
Websites are blogs.
In theory.
Yes.
But a blog is content, right? A blog is, so, but in theory, they're all websites.
Got it.
But
thank you.
There are platforms. So WordPress is now, when WordPress first started, it started as a platform just for blogs. But it has evolved today to power a lot of websites. But when it first started, was really meant for blog, so it was easy to publish content. So the first thing in considering what's the right platform for you, we're going to talk about theme and design. So if you're planning to use an off-the-shelf design template, meaning you're not going to hire a graphic designer to go out and create a custom theme, you want to choose a platform that has a great selection of templates. And, you know, for instance, WordPress has there's probably hundreds of thousands of great design templates, and many of them are free. And some might be $50. So that's got to be a a consideration. Next is the cost. Although many platforms are free, many of the platforms charge for things like having a custom domain, or things like if you're going to run advertising, or you want to serve video, or you want to make changes to the font or size. So, you know, yes, you can get a free, you know, certainly it's open source and it's free, but, you know, some of the functionality, if you wanted enhanced functionality, you may have to pay for that. The next is what types of features do you need for your blog? For example, are you going to incorporate video? Do you want to be able for your readers to share on their social media? Are you thinking down the road that maybe you want to incorporate e-commerce? So kind of understanding what your requirements are, short-term and long-term, should be a factor in deciding what platform you might decide to use. Also, do you want to run ads, or do you want to have affiliate links on your blog, like from Capital Lighting? If so, you need to make sure that the platform supports that. And then last and certainly not least is how easy to use this. You don't want to be in a position where you've got to hire a programmer to help you. So you want to have it as easy as possible. So for instance, like WordPress and even some of the others, Drupal that I mentioned, they make it very easy to add content. It's almost like using words. So those are kind of the things that you want to be looking for. And so at the end of the day, you want to set your strategy, define your requirements, and then find the right platform that will allow you to execute on that strategy. So now you've set your strategy, you've chosen your platform, and now it's time to design your blog. Elements you need to consider when designing your blog are the theme. The blog theme is what is used to enhance the visual layout and the overall usability of the blog. As mentioned earlier, there's many off-the-shelf templates, or you can choose to custom develop your theme, or maybe a combination, because even if you take an off-the-shelf theme, you could get a graphic designer, or maybe you do a little graphic design to make changes. So the visual representation is important, as this will say a lot about your company and your brand. You also want to make sure whatever theme you choose is mobile friendly. And most off-the-shelf themes today are mobile friendly, so it's not an issue. Next, the color scheme. What colors do you want to use on your blog? How does this reflect your style or portray your brand? The font, the typography. This is more important than most people think. Do your research on typefaces. Remember, this is the written voice of your brand. Text that is difficult to read may deter a potential customer. Images. We're in a visual industry, so how do you plan to use images? And you want to use and I see this as in the design community, it's just a great way. You could show before and afters. Having a very visually oriented for our vertical is important. Are you planning to incorporate video or audio, even PowerPoint presentations like this? If so, make sure you associate text with it so it can be found by search engines. What colors should you use as a background? This is the backdrop of your blog. Warm colors project a human focus, and cool colors are typically associated with technology. Also, you don't want the background to detract too much or overpower your content. Easy navigation is critical. Make sure it is easy to navigate your blog and make it intuitive. And last, social sharing features. Make sure it's easy for your followers to share your blog on their social media. This feature is available pretty much across the board on all the major platforms.
And just to touch on something that you had mentioned at the beginning of that slide about mobile friendly. You're talking about so that it renders nicely on a cell phone, like an iPhone
tablet,
or a Samsung
or
even a small tablet. If somebody set up a website and now has been blogging on it, but it was set up before what they're calling mobile friendly or responsive, and you say, oh, it doesn't look so nicely when I pull it up on my phone, that's because it's not on a mobile friendly or responsive design platform.
Correct. So that's a great point, Eric. If you do have a blog, and let's say you built that blog 5 years ago, it's probably not mobile friendly or responsive. And what responsive means is it resizes and responds based on the device. That's all that means. And so it's probably time to update your theme.
Yep.
So that's a good point. And especially in our vertical, in our home decor design, it's primarily women who are, shopping our services, and they're on the go. So, and we're seeing, in general, that percentage of visits to websites or blogs is growing at an exponential rate. So it's really important. So that was a good point to bring up there. Okay, so how often should you blog? Actually, I think I skipped a slide. Sorry. We got so into the responsive. So
yes, my fault.
It is your fault.
I'll take full responsibility.
So now we've got, we've picked out a theme and design. So now you need to develop your tone and your voice. So first you want to create a personality for your blog. And I think this is so important for this group listening to this. Because you want to make sure that you're authentic, you want to be honest and credible. You always want to write with your reader in mind. And the last thing is you don't want to always be selling something. It's okay sometimes to be selling, but you don't want every blog post to be about selling because people will just stop following you. So the next is about frequency. How often should you blog? And it does matter. And research has shown that how often you blog is directly tied to new customer acquisition. So we recommend when we're working with clients that they try to blog 2 or 3 times per week. And that now you might not be able to do that. So if you can't commit to that, just be consistent and be compelling and set expectations. So even if I would hope you would do it more often, but let's say, okay, you're going to update your blog once a month. At least set the expectation in the blog content that maybe even in the title it's saying, March 2015, monthly blog, for your business. So, but the optimum would be if you could do it a couple of times a week.
And this is such an important point, because this is where I've seen people fall down, and it's not for a lack of caring, it's just for a lack of content. And where you say don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's more important that the content is better than there's more content. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
If you're saying I'm going to publish every week, no matter what happens, I'm putting this blog out on Saturday, but Saturday rolls around and you have nothing to say, so you end up putting something together that really isn't on point. It's not your voice. It's pulling things that don't go together, and then, okay, well, I checked my box, I did my blog, I can go on to next week. I would tell them, don't publish that. And I'm assuming you would say the same thing.
I would agree. Oh, of course.
So
but the underlying theme of this is it needs to be relevant, and it should be compelling. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, just blogging for the purposes of blogging because you think you have to. But the good news is there's a lot to talk about in home trends and style and colors, and one of the things that I do, and I didn't put it in one of the slides, is I have Google alerts set up on different subjects.
Right.
So that I'm interested in, and so for our business, we take some of those things, the trends, and we sort of I don't want to say we repurpose content, but we talk about other people's articles and what other people are saying or other research. So really, home decor and design and, renovations, that is a major activity online. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot to talk about.
So you could almost be almost curate, like if you don't have anything brilliant that's unique that you came up with, you can, because you're in the space, you're probably going to be reading other people's stuff. It's totally fine to say that you agree with this person's opinion or something they said, and because you're in the space probably more than a lot of the other people following your blog, so you can, as long as it's cited properly and the links are there, which is that other person would appreciate that you're sharing their stuff. That would make a fine blog. It doesn't all have to be every single word unique. Just if you're using somebody else's material, fully cite it, have the correct links, and never represent it as your own if it's not your own words.
Right. Create your own unique content if you're referring to somebody else's blog. You wouldn't plagiarize somebody else's blog, for sure.
But you could say, I totally agree with this person who said, and then have what they said and cited. Right. Perfect. Got it.
Right. Okay. So we touched a bit earlier on, what's my content strategy. So understand who your readers are and make sure you write from their point of view. You always want to have attention-grabbing headlines. So here's an example of a search. Lists are great, right? When you think about in the old days, we've thought about, old days, it's really funny, magazines and, top 10 this, top 5 this. This is still very important. So you want to have attention-grabbing headlines and so use thought-provoking questions, and that's going to increase your chances of showing up. And this is especially important with how, as I was mentioning earlier, how Google made changes and how they're providing users with the most relevant search results. You also want to engage in a conversation. So end your blog with an open-ended question. So this isn't a one-way street. So, because you want people to comment on your blog. And they're not going to comment if you're not provoking them, to engage in a conversation. We talked about keywords. So this is all about how we kind of construct this content. And lastly, we recommend that your blog kind of be in the sweet spot of 300 to 500 words. It's really kind of the best practices. If it's shorter than that, Google's not going to think that it has the quality. So, and you'd be surprised, it's not that hard to write 300 to 500 words. When you look at that number, you say, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? But it's not that hard. So now you have your blog. How can you start promoting it? So one of my favorite sayings when I'm talking on this subject is that unlike in the movie The Field of Dreams, I say when it comes to blogs or websites, build it and they will not come. So first, let's talk about leveraging your blog or pushing your blog through your other social media channels. So I'm sure all of you have attended or watched our CEU courses on other social media. Those are additional channels that you could be pushing your blog. So on Facebook, you can share it on your business page as well as your personal page. On Twitter, you can add your blog to your Twitter feed. On Pinterest, consider creating a board specifically for your blog posts. You could actually create whole themes around a blog. And LinkedIn, share on your LinkedIn business and profile, as well as any of the LinkedIn groups that you're participating in LinkedIn. And then, of course, Google+, you can share it on your page as well as in your Google circles. And although Google Plus is probably not the, not the biggest social channel, I pretty much, when I talk to people there, that's sort of at the low end. Although it's gaining traction, it's really important to Google that you're playing in Google Plus. So I just wouldn't dismiss it because it's part of that popularity contest. So social bookmarking sites have millions of users, and these are online services where users consolidate all their bookmarks. And all you have to do is go to each of these sites, and you set up an account, and you can start sharing your blog content. Now, there are also, because there are literally, there's probably 10 popular, but there's a lot of different niche social bookmarking sites. So there are also paid services, and I just put OnlyWire here, that you can subscribe to that will allow you to publish your content in one place and then push it to your other social channels. You would connect all your social media channels as well as social bookmarking sites. So, if that's something that, you could allocate budget to, I definitely recommend that so you can kind of get the biggest bang for your buck.
And I just, I'm sure most people know what you mean when you say bookmarks, just in case somebody, because this isn't a live webinar with questions and answers, it's a course. A bookmark is a website or a blog that you go to frequently, and you star it, or depending upon what browser you're using, you mark it so that it shows up easily when you call it up next time.
Correct. And so social bookmarking are actual sites that help you aggregate your bookmarks in one place. So You can push content, so I may have social bookmarks set up for digital marketing resources, and that it aggregates, so I subscribe, and it aggregates all those bookmarks for me. You know, kind of organizes it for you. So by pushing, you can push your content, so there's pull and push, right? So I'm a subscriber, and let's say I'm interested in home decor, and I bookmark through, let's say it's Dig, I bookmark, and I'll just use capital lighting, every time you push a blog post through Dig, it's going to show up in my feed. I don't have to go find it. It gets pushed to me.
Mm-hmm. And this is real good sort of organizational skills for our listeners, because they probably get a little overwhelmed if they sign up for all these things, and then it's just coming into their inbox without any sort of organization. That they build up very, very quickly, and then they just stop following them because it just seems like a big mess. But putting them in this sort of categorization and organization, it'll let you put them together so that when you have the time to go through all your blogs or other things that you follow, it'll all be in one spot for you.
Yeah. Okay. So the next area is, this is low-hanging fruit, your contacts. So if you already have an email newsletter, or you know, you should add your blog and a link to your blog from that email. You can also consider adding a link to your blog at the bottom of your email signature. If you do a lot of emails like we all do, just say follow my blog, and maybe you have a theme of your blog, and that might be a way to build up your followers. And then you can also set up a feed, RSS feed, which stands for Real Simple Syndication, and this can be easily integrated as part of your it's already plugged in to your blog platform. So if you're on WordPress or TypePad or Blogger or whatever, creating this Real Simple Syndication is already available there, and that means people can just subscribe to your blog. They would just subscribe to it. So that's another way to market your blog. And then leverage other blogs by posting comments with a link back to your blog. Now you have to be careful, and it needs to be relevant, because you don't want to be you know, spamming other people's blogs. You can also submit your blog as a guest post, and I'm actually going to talk just a little bit deeper on that, because I think that's a great opportunity for everybody listening to this course. Make outreach and develop relationships with influential bloggers who would consider linking to your blog post. So it's kind of, you're in the same business. And you can also submit it as a reprint to other blogs. And then the last piece is there are blogging networks and communities where you can share each other's content. So there's a lot of robust ways to leverage kind of this whole community of bloggers that could be complementary to what you're doing. And then last, as we were talking about earlier, make sure on your blog that you've incorporated the ability to share your blog. Meaning, if I come to your blog and I see something that I like, that I could click on the Facebook icon or Pinterest, and I could share it on my social channels. So now I just want to share a little bit more on guest blogging. Guest blogging has become very popular, and guest blogging is going to help in, you know, building relationships, establishing yourself as an authority and expert in your field because you're getting published. It's like you're getting, published as a contributor. And you also may uncover business opportunities through these relationships. And, you're casting a wider net, back to that term that I love to use. And also, it's important, and it's great for SEO because that's, especially if it's a blog that's relevant to your industry, your expertise, it's going to be a link back to your blog or your website, and it's just part of Google's popularity contest. So, getting cited and linked back to your site from other relevant sites is important. So just a few things I wanted to touch upon from best practices, and this is a sort of a culmination of, I talk to a lot of bloggers, and these are kind of the high-level things. The frequency, pick a frequency and stick with it. As was saying earlier, it's very frustrating when I'm following a blog that I'm really interested in or I subscribe to, and it's just not updated. We want to use keyword-rich, attention-grabbing headlines for each post. Incorporating imagery, especially for the people that are taking the CEU course. This is your business. It's visual. Formatting matters, and as I mentioned earlier, these platforms are a lot like using Word. So you want to use subheads and bullet points and not just run-on sentences. Make sure you have paragraphs and that sort of thing. This goes to what Eric was speaking to earlier, quality versus quantity. And make sure you categorize your blog post. So when you're setting up the blog post, it will ask you to categorize it, because remember, these aren't these posts will be out there. People will visit your blog in the future, and if, let's say, you have different categories, like you have kitchen design, you have bedroom design, you have bathroom design, you have landscape lighting, you want to have those in various categories so it's easy for people to navigate around your blog. So now just a few no-nos. Don't be too promotional. Don't treat it like a press center. You just lose credibility. It's okay to do it sometimes, by the way. And I always tend to, push the envelope a little bit, but you don't want to be always selling something or promoting a service or having an offer in blog posts. Not blogging regularly is a no-no. Not making the discussions two ways. You really want to engage in a conversation. Don't make the content hard to find. That goes back to the categorization. And the last thing is make sure that you're using original photography or licensed images. This will get you in trouble from the stock photo businesses. And I know I've talked to a lot of people who've gotten bills for $650 because they were just copying and pasting images off of Google Images. Don't do that. So have a budget, or if you can get some original photos, that's even better if you could do that.
Are there places to get free photos, like no license fee images?
Yeah, yeah. If you go into Google and you type in royalty-free images,
royalty-free, right?
Royalty-free. You could start there.
Right.
So,
okay.
Right. Obviously, maybe the quality of those, but that would be a good place to start. But I've seen people get in trouble, and it's just not something you want to deal with. And some of these stock photography companies now have kind of these automated ways that they're picking up their the images that are out there that haven't been properly licensed. So.
Great.
So now I just wanted to talk in general about, some really cool blogs that are out there. So there's many businesses who are doing a great job. A few of these that I love: Zappos, Marriott, Southwest, Whole Foods. Southwest does a really cool job on sort of, how they've approached travel. They're sort of the anti, corporate travel. It's honest, and they talk a lot about the people. And people generally hate airlines, but somehow, Southwest has been able to really rise above that. And so I know for those of you who have experienced Southwest, flying Southwest, they transcend, so their brand is consistent even in their blog. And Starbucks and Zappos, Whole Foods, they really do a great job in general with social media, and that's for good reason. So, just these are some of my favorites from a corporate. For several years, there's a lot going on in the mommy and parenting space, and for several years, Ree Drummond, she had started Pioneer Women, and she's been recognized as one of the top mom and food bloggers, and she's won several awards, and she started this years ago in her living room, and now, fast forward to today, she's a New York Times best-selling author, she's a food writer, she's a television personality on the Food Network, and she started as a blogger, and it's because she was authentic and credible and all the things that we talked about today. The Capital Lighting blog is a great example of an omni-channel retailer blog that is really, they follow all the best practices. So I'm very proud of them.
Always
they
use
follow,
cute pictures of dogs. Yes.
Yeah.
That's best practices.
Well, I picked that photo because that actually looks like my dog.
Has your dog ever exhibited that behavior?
My
Doesn't
dog
sound like it when on some of our calls.
Yes, but the funniest thing is that could be my dog, and so that's why I picked this to showcase it. But what's great is the team at Capital, they follow a blog schedule, they post on a regular basis, they are coming up with some very creative and great headlines, they're tagging everything, they've got great photos, they're sharing it across their social media and through all their other marketing, and it's great information. And so, not because Eric's on the line here and, they're hosting the CEU course, but, over the course of the last couple of years, they've really embraced blogging and are following best practices. So I'm very proud of them personally. So let's talk about some, designer blogs. The Element of Style blog is one of the world's leading lifestyle blogs. She has thousands of loyal readers and fans, and that Aaron Gates started this probably like 9 years ago now. Aaron's content provides interior design inspiration, and she'll also pepper it with occasional posts on fashion and travel and pop culture. Her tone is honest, and at times it's funny, and she brings in a lot of guest bloggers now. She's somewhat like Ree Drummond. She's kind of been elevated to, blog celebrity status but her tone is humorous sometimes, and when you read her blog, it's almost like you're sitting down with her at her kitchen table having coffee, so it's very relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Design Sponge is considered by many to be one of really the top interior design blogs. They were recently named to the top 25 blogs by Time Magazine, and Grace Bonney, who created Design Sponge, she covers a variety of different topics in the industry, from home design, new and innovative products, tips on home living in a modern world. So just, again, does a great job. She does a lot with before and after pictures, which is really great. I think that's great content. People, people like me who have no design sense at all, and I've got a blank canvas, it's nice to see how a simple room can become amazing. Maybe it's a small bedroom that you don't know what to do with. And so, she uses a lot of before and afters. And she actually, as you see, in this example, is now running advertising. So she's now, monetizing, her blog. So now, how do we measure success? So we've done all this stuff. We set our goals. We have our strategy. So first, you want to make sure you set up your Google Analytics. It is free. You may need some help with that from somebody who is maybe a little more technical. But if you're sort of a, I can follow instructions, it's pretty simple to set up. But you might need a little, technical help there from, somebody who, maybe does little web development. Once you have your Google Analytics, then you're going to be able to track how many people come to your site, how many pages do they look at, how long did they stay on the site, what article, what blog posts were the most popular. And these things are going to help you, as I was mentioning earlier, decide what you should be publishing moving forward. It's going to tell you the bounce rate. A bounce rate is when people land on your page and leave immediately. So that's a big, that means that content was not that interesting, or, so looking at those kind of statistics are going to help you for future content planning. And then it's also, you can set it up that it'll tell you how many new customer leads you're getting. So one of the things that I didn't mention in here that you'll want to do is you'll want to have a very prominent place on your blog post that says, contact me. For more information on, Georgie's design services, and you could even have a little form. And all the blog platforms, like the WordPress and the others that I mentioned, have those, what they're called modules, to plug in. But you could also be measuring how many people actually are contacting you through Google Analytics. So I just want to summarize why you should be doing this. It's a great method for you to establish yourself as an expert and an authority. You're going to drive real qualified traffic. It's going to be great for SEO. As we talked earlier, Google loves new, fresh, and unique content. It's a great way for you to get a better understanding of your target customers, even your current customers, especially as you make those posts very engaging. It's potentially a great avenue to connect with others in your industry. And lastly, it's really a very cost-effective marketing tool, because once you have it set up, it's a half an hour. And practice takes perfect. You have to practice writing your blogs, and you'll find that after you practice, that they come easier to you. So you guys have so much to be passionate about in your industry. So I hope that you enjoyed this course today from Capital Lighting, and you learned something and you were inspired. And I hope you start blogging to build your business.
That was great, Georgie. I appreciate the program. I'm sure our listeners did as well. If you do wish to get the continuing education unit, the assessment can be taken now and sent in. Get a passing grade. We'll submit it so you get your credit. If you didn't, we'll send you back that too, and you'll have another chance. So thank you all for attending. We look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Georgie.
Thank you.